Okay, welcome to another Quran study today. We're going to read starting from Surah 59, verse 21. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Verse 21, greatness of the Quran. If we revealed this Quran to a mountain, you would see it trembling, crumbling out of reverence for God. We cite these examples for the people that they may reflect. So we can see that this verse talks about the greatness of the Quran, and it uses something as big as a mountain as an example, for the human being. It could have used a tree, but it used a mountain just to let us know, in comparison, how great a mountain is compared to a human. And it says this mountain would crumble out of reverence for God, because the Quran, it's a book like no other, and we know this Quran brings the truth and it's infallible because of a miracle of 19. It's truly an amazing book from the Lord of the universe, and it guides to righteousness. And naturally, for submitters, believers, it instills reverence in us, and it even increases our reverence as time goes on. Um, so this verse is just a great testament to how magnificent the Quran is. And if we think about the Lord of the heavens and the earth, this is His book that He sent down. These are His words. So think about how great God is, and this is the book from the Lord of the heavens and the earth, the Lord of the universe. So we can see how great this Quran is. Verse 22. He is the one God, there is no other God beside him, knower of all secrets and declarations. He is the most gracious, the most merciful. So, this lets us know our God is one and there is no other gods beside him. Only he possesses power. He's everlasting. He's the first and the last. We're told he knows all our secrets and declarations. So, he even knows, that what the eyes cannot see. He knows anything we say behind closed doors or anything we declare, out in the open, and even more than that. Um, this is just an amazing testament to God's greatness. Um, he knows what's the innermost parts of our hearts, our minds, and even more. Um, Verse 23. He is the one God. There is no other God beside him. The King, the most sacred, the peace, the most faithful, the supreme, the Almighty, the most powerful, the most dignified. God be glorified far above having partners. So we're told here again that our God is one, and in the Quran, this is a heavily stressed theme of the Quran. This is one of the most important things for us to understand and truly come to terms with. As submitters and believers, that we recognize. We follow the monotheistic religion of Abraham, and we know that our God is one. He's not multiple gods. He's not a trinity. He's not divisible. He's one God, and this is the thing that makes most sense even to myself and to other believers, is that why would you want to worship more than one God? There's only one that possesses all the power. And we're also told in Appendix 1, it tells us that the Quran's dominant message is that there is only one God. So this is an important thing to keep in mind. And these names are so wonderful, and they invoke reverence and more faith. These names by themselves lets us know that he is far above having any partners. It's the most powerful. So if someone is referred to, or something's referred to as the most powerful, then nothing else compares in power to him. The most dignified, the most faithful. Think about it. Anyone that, let's say you take the most faithful friend or spouse or whoever, a family member, that's extremely faithful. Well, he's even more faithful than anyone Um, so these names just let us know some of his attributes. Verse 24. He is the one God, the creator, the initiator, the designer. To him belong the most beautiful names. Glorifying him is everything in the heavens and the earth. He is the Almighty, most wise. So this verse, and it's stressing the importance of telling the world, through this book that our God is one. And he's not, he's never begotten the Son. He is never, he's not, divisible, as certain parts of the people of the previous scriptures, the gospels like to say. It's even in the Old Testament. You said, or there are your God is indivisible. You can't divide him into a trinity. And it reminds me. I was just listening to something of the messenger of the covenant last night. He was reviewing Surah 18, and that went something like about why this book was revealed, and it says to warn of severe retribution for those who claim that God has begotten the Son. I can't recall exactly what verse that is, but the messenger said this was one of the another big reason the Quran was revealed, to clear up this gross blasphemy, this lie, because this has crept into the hearts and minds of so many people, by Satan's handiwork. And thank God that this Quran was revealed, because it's such a blessing to clear up the lies, about how they try to make God into more than one God when He's only one God. Um, and it says to him belong the most beautiful names. So we can't even fathom how beautiful God is. What I like to do, or sometimes if we maybe we can get begin to understand or get glimpses, when I look around in his creation, we can see a reflection, or just a reflection of how, or begin to understand how beautiful he is, and all the beautiful names that belong to God. When if you look at a beautiful flower, a sunset, or a sunrise, or you look at pictures of nebulas, in outer space, and the colors and the formation of these structures, and or auroras in the northern part of the hemisphere. It makes you wonder, and like how wonderful and beautiful these things are. And it makes one ponder how much more beautiful and amazing God must be, because you think about how small these things are in comparison to the Lord of the heavens and the earth. And we can only fathom, or we can't even fathom. We can only imagine. Um, it says he's the creator. So he created all things. He initiated everything that there is, and it also refers to him as the designer. So what this tells us, that he specifically designed everything that there is with, like, to the utmost, um, with extreme precision and calculations, and no one else could do this except God. If you think about just how many cellular reactions are going, on just in an organ we have, and that's just in one single human being. And you think about everything working together, so much in harmony. And you also, you go as down to as small as a human. You can go even smaller, down to a fly or a mosquito, and think about the design of it. you know um a dragonfly, I think it has 30,000, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was eyes, or it was something, or some type of cones, and basically it has 30,000, I believe, different parts of the eye where it's able to see. And I mean, just looking at this stuff, there's a specific design and construction to everything, and how everything works together. We don't see any flaws in the creation. And everything that he did create, everything that exists, glorifies God. Even the walls, our desk, the floor, because these things are made up of atoms, and it says, God controls every atom, and that even smaller, he's aware of everything too. So everything that exists, by its very nature of existing, is a testament to the one God who created it. So it naturally, it has to, it must glorify God. It just serves as its very existence serves as a testimony to the greatness of God, that these things, are just existing, that they that it's almost like its very existence even bears witness that there is a God, the one who created that. Everything that we see, we touch, we hear, we smell, or we feel, and even that of the unseen too, which is amazing. So we'll get to the next Sarah 60, the test. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. O you who believe, you shall not befriend my enemies and your enemies, extending love and friendship to them, even though they have disbelieved in the truth that has come to you. They persecute the messenger and you, just because you believe in God, your Lord. If you mobilize to struggle in my cause, seeking my blessings, how can you secretly love them? I am fully aware of everything you conceal and everything you declare. Those among you who do this have indeed strayed off the right path. Whenever they encounter you, they treat you as enemies and hurt you with their hands and tongues. They want you to disbelieve. So we're told here that the believers are forbidden from befriending God's enemies, which naturally become our enemies. If someone, let's, if you have a spouse, or let's say your best friend, if you see someone, that's an enemy of your spouse or a very close friend of yours, you're naturally not going to befriend this person. So, you know, that can so why would we do the same? Why wouldn't we do the same for God? And so we're instructed, these people, they're not our friends, they're God's enemies, which are naturally become our enemies. And it's for our own good. God doesn't want us befriending, these people. We can't compromise. And even speaking for myself, we always must examine ourselves, that we don't fall into this, by accident. And I mean, I guess until who these people are, you know them by their labors and by their fruits. As what's one way Jesus said, a tree by its fruits. And if someone who is trying to harm the believers, that their goal is to get us to disbelieve, for whatever reason. Maybe they disbelieve, or they're just advocates of Satan, without knowing, or knowing. By they try to harm us by their speech, things they could say to to cause, mayhem, to disrupt, the peace, and then, it refers to, they hurt you with their hands and their tongue. So, I mean, this, I guess this, you could say this still goes on today in some parts of the world, like physically, as far as United States, we're still doing, we can still fight in the cause of God, be attacked for it, be persecuted and that, but in today's world, it's a little bit different, because we don't, where they're not actively physically fighting, but through other means, through let's say spreading a message or through other various meetings of the internet or it's basically it can still have, it's still going on today, and they even can come to us, they can try to intimidate us to disbelieve, but if we come across this, we obey God, and reverencing God, if we really reverence God, we won't ever fall into this category, because we don't fear these people. We only fear God as he should be feared. Praise be to God. And we won't feel the need to take it easy on these people either, because these people are not our friends. These the one, these are proponents of Satan. Verse 3: your relatives and your money can never help you. On the day of resurrection, he will judge among you. God is seer of everything you do. So the day of resurrection is a day where every soul will be resurrected, and it'll be paid accordingly to everything it has done. In this verse, God tells us that there's no intercession, and basically, you're not going to have any help from friends or family, or regardless of your wealth. You could be the wealthiest person on earth. You could be, I mean, even Rockefeller, or just these big tycoons back in the day. I mean, who knows, what their religious stance was. But the point here is that, these people should ask them, that actually believe that their family or their wealth could help them. They fail to realize that who gave them their family and their wealth, who is the one who created gold, or created the earth and all these material luxuries and money, who is the one who initiated and created all that. Well, don't you think that belongs to God and not to you? So therefore it's not even yours to ransom away, even if such thing were possible. So it's just, I guess it's just common sense, God owns everything. He possesses everything. Nothing can intercede. No friends or family. If someone is deserving of retribution, nothing can help them. And says God is also, God is seer of everything we do. And when I think of this, it's good to be aware of this, more aware of this, as much as we can, constantly keeping God on our mind. Because when you, like the messenger of the covenant said, he's in this room very, right now, he's with us. He's in my room and in everyone else's room. He's in this meeting, and he's watching, and he's seeing everything that's being said, being spoken. So when I think about it like this, it's like, man, well, let me make sure everything I do is or strive to be the perfect human being. Like the messenger said, that's eventually that's where we want to be at. He said if there was such a thing, we ought to strive to be the perfect human being, and to please God. And so, verse 4, Abraham, an example. A good example has been set for you by Abraham and those with him. They said to their people, "We disown you and the idols that you worship besides God. We denounce you, and you will see nothing from us except animosity and hatred until you believe in God alone." However, a mistake was committed by Abraham when he said to his father, "I will pray for your forgiveness, but I possess no power to protect you from God. Our Lord, we trust in you and submit to you. To you is the final destiny." So, we see below in the footnote, we see a mathematical proof confirming God alone, where wadahu occurs 6 times. So I'll read the footnote for verse 4. It says, the Arabic word for alone, wadahu, occurs only 6 times in the Quran. One of them refers to upholding the Quran alone. That's Surah 17, verse 46. The reference to God alone occurs in Surah 7, verse 70, Surah 39, verse 45, Surah 40, verse 12, and Surah 84, or Surah 40, verse 12, and verse 84, and Surah 60, verse 4. The sum of these numbers equals 361, or 19 times 19. So 19 times 19, we can see this emphasizes that the main theme of the Quran is to worship God alone. See Appendix 1. So this is not by chance. It's really a mercy and it's a blessing. It's more confirmation. It strengthens my faith, and even more than it already is. Seeing something like this, and I'm happy to see it too. We're happy to see this because it just confirms and it proves what we have is the truth. What the messenger brought is indeed the truth, and there is no other God besides God. This is a mercy and blessing that he shows us. For those who have eyes to see. And and also in this verse, we see how Abraham set an example for the believers. So he said, "We disown you and the idols that you worship besides God. We denounce you, and you will see nothing from us except animosity and hatred until you believe in God alone." So this is a good example that the idol worshippers, they're not Abraham and his congregation of fellow submitters or believers. They're not going to be nice, to these idol worshippers, or be friendly, or cohabitate with them. In actuality, they're going to experience animosity and hatred from Abraham, until belief is established, until they believe in God. So we can even be if necessary, being harsh to these people is something that we may have to do, or if it's necessary. So Abraham and his congregation, they denounced this because why would we want be nice to these people? Because in a sense, it's if you have someone who opposes your creator, their own creator, and they're too ignorant or arrogant to realize it. I sure wouldn't want to befriend these people, because if you really love God, you're gonna stand up, want to fight for Him, mobilize for Him. And so we see in the second footnote, right here, I'll read it. We're told to pray for guidance for those who idol worship. So the footnote reads, "We can pray for guidance for the idolaters, not forgiveness, since God's law is that idolatry is the only unforgivable offense." And that's also found in Surah 4, verse 48 and verse 116. So, this makes sense because God's law doesn't forgive idol worship. As the messenger said, especially if you die in a state of idol worship. Um, and it reminds me, when he said that, it reminds me about this another part in the Quran where I think it was Abraham that says, "Let us die as submitters." That's such a beautiful prayer because that's truly that's the best, I guess, death. One could, a submitter could want is to die as a submitter, because he's going to be redeemed into God's mercy, inshallah. So we're told to pray for guidance for those who idol worship, so that they may leave their idol worship one day. And we're not to try to force these people to believe, but if you have a family member or someone who you see that may, that hasn't rejected the message, that takes interest but is still, hesitant, but they're not arguing against it. You can pray for guidance for these people, that they will come to worship God alone, and then by doing so, uh, God willing, can choose to forgive these people. Verse 5. Our Lord, let us not be oppressed by those who disbelieve, and forgive us. You are the Almighty, most wise. A good example has been set by them for those who seek God in the last day. As for those who turn away, God is in no need of them, most praiseworthy. So, um, you know, oppression, the Quran tells us, that oppression is worse than murder, in a sense that, people, because it's such a damaging thing, to oppress people, especially submitters or believers, and you end up harming them in ways that would be worse that if you just they were just killed. So we see that a prayer is being made by to God, that let us not be oppressed by the disbelievers, and to forgive those who believe. And examples are set for those who seek God in the last day. So examples were given in this surah. Even examples that are throughout the Quran. People who seek God in the last day, they'll love these examples, because they'll want to learn, and they want to learn only because they realize their soul, their eternal life is at stake here. And so any learning that they can do, and they'll want to learn, take heed of these examples to improve their lives, and continue to grow as a submitter, and strive in the cause of God and seek His forgiveness. And it also says, as for the ones who turn away, God doesn't need them. So He's the most praiseworthy. I've come across people in life, that I've talked to people over the years, and uh, there's been a number of people where basically, they used to believe, or now they don't really believe, and they turn away from God because they something bad happens to them in life. And little do they don't understand God's system, that it's something that they have done, or if they lose a loved one, that that loved one they lost could be a victim of Satan. Where we were sent here because of our egos. We're the ones who chose to go through this, but they don't understand this. That you could have been living in Satan's kingdom, and so they like to blame God. I've met these people. They like to blame God. They get upset with Him, and there's people that actually think they hurt God by doing so. Like, ooh, I'm not gonna, believe in God, and so somehow, like, it's like they feel like they can hurt God in some type of way, or almost like they're getting back, and I met a few of these people just by talking to them, and they're so foolish because God doesn't need them. They're the ones that need God. And I mean, even when you run across these people that do this, that harbor resentments, God is still even merciful to these people. I guess depending on the situation, he knows. Well, let me backtrack. I don't want to say what I don't know. Of God, but just their very existence, their heartbeat, and he will still even provide homes for these people. He'll provide food for these people. I've met. So it just shows how merciful he is. But you can only hope that these people come to an understanding that God doesn't need them, and they're only hurting themselves when they if they turn away. Because this verse tells us this, and everything in this Quran is 100% the truth. It's confirmed by the ultimate miracle. So we know what we read is indeed a fact, and praise be to God. Verse 7: God may change the animosity between you and them into love. God is omnipotent. God is forgiver, most merciful. So this is just a testimony to how great wonderful God is. So someone who is let's say like an enemy of yours, animosity is a pretty strong word. It's a strong emotion, and the fact that God can turn this into love, he can. That's amazing. If God can do anything, even something as this, and even something that a human, if you think about somebody who's an enemy, and the very fact that from a human standpoint be like, oh, I could never love this person, but God can do anything. He could even when you thought that couldn't be possible, he could change the animosity into love. And God is most knower, so he does this if he so willed, or if he saw to it that it was right to do. Verse 8: basic law regulating relations with unbelievers. God does not enjoin you from befriending those who do not fight you because of religion and do not evict you from your homes. You may befriend them and be equitable towards them. God loves the equitable. So I think of when I think of this verse, it reminds me, the people, we interact with just from day to day. It could be at work. It could, you could have just someone you see in the store or wherever. God knows we'll interact with all sorts of people, from day to day, and so for those who are don't fight us because of religion. They're not forcing us out of our homes. We can be equitable to these people. We can befriend them. Be cordial, treat them in a nice manner. And this is says God loves the equitable. So I mean, yeah, if someone's let's say at work that doesn't fight you because of religion, you talk on a work related basis, you're not going to be treat these people with harshly, or did show animosity, or you can befriend them and be kind to them, be equitable. God loves the equitable, so it's good to strive to be this way. So these are relations with, even if this person doesn't is a disbeliever, if they're just going through the motions of life, let's say unaware, as long as they aren't attacking you, or trying to harm you, or trying to get you to revert, or spreading spreading anything ill, we're told here that we can befriend them and be equitable. So the next verse, verse 9, it says, God enjoins you only from befriending those who fight you because of religion, evict you from your homes, and band together with others to banish you. You shall not befriend them. Those who befriend them are the transgressors. So this is I guess I look at this as it's just God's law. He's commanding us to not befriend those who fight us from religion. They band together with others, to banish us. These people are oppressors. I mean, God says we'll become transgressors if we befriend these people, who are our enemies. And they're also God's enemies, because if they're trying to get us to revert, by any means, or spreading doubt, confusion, chaos. These people are proponents of Satan, whether they realize it or not. Now it's physically evicting you from your homes. We could still see this physical eviction in other parts of the world today. I guess more so in the Middle East. Not so in the United States that I'm aware of. Which is nice. We have freedom, extreme libertarianism, freedom of religion. But you can also, even in our country, you can have groups or congregations of people that can band together through whatever, an online medium, or even in person, if you're visiting, if they harbor any ill intent towards you. They know your religion, or they try to band together, or to cause disruption, to fight you, verbally, because of religion. These people, these aren't our friends. We're not to befriend these people. And it's for our own good. So that we don't become like them. And it also shows, a testament of our faith. That even despite their number, we don't compromise on this thing. And really, as the messenger said, the one who is larger in number is the submitters, the believers. Because I think the way he put it, it's like the ones who have grown their soul. Those are the ones who are actually. There's a verse I think he was going over. It says, "They will find out that they are really the ones who are fewer in number." So he said it's like comparing 1,000 or 100,000 ants to the size of a human. And relatively speaking, about the day of judgment, everybody will see. The ones who develop their souls, they'll be the giants. They'll be the ones that have a bigger number, that they'll be bigger in number than us. So we have to remember that there's angels, we have God on our side, and there's the guards, the angels, and fellow submitters and believers, who are the true family that, we have, we're the ones who actually, are bigger in number. But the disbelievers and idol worshipers, they don't understand that. They don't see that. Verse 10, in the case of war, O you who believe, when believing women abandon the enemy and ask for asylum with you, you shall test them. God is fully aware of their belief. Once you establish that they are believers, you shall not return them to the disbelievers. They are not lawful to remain married to them, nor shall the disbelievers be allowed to marry them. Give back the dowries that the disbelievers have paid. You commit no error by marrying them, so as long as you pay them their due dowries. Do not keep disbelieving wives if they wish to join the enemy. You may ask them for the dowry that you had paid, and may ask for what they paid. This is God's rule. He rules among you. God is omniscient, most wise. So this is the way God wants it, and this is the most equitable. We see how just God is, because we're told to give back the dowries, even to the disbelievers, to for wives that leave the disbelievers and seek refuge, in the believers' camps, we're told to give back these dowries to the disbelievers, and this is equitable. God doesn't even wrong these people in the sense that he's his it's an amazing principle. And we're also told, for the wives that the believers may lose if we are told that the disbelievers, we can ask for the dowry back, in the same way that we would give it back to the disbelievers. We're told we can ask for it back. So we see God as the most just here. Um, it also says, at the times of war, it was important to establish and confirm, people who leave the enemy's camps or wives, that they are believers, until belief is established. And once belief is established, we're told, we're not to return them, because they don't belong to the enemies, the disbelievers. Verse 11: If any of your wives join the enemy's camp and you are forced to fight, you shall force the enemy to compensate the men who lost their wives by giving them what they spend on their wives. You shall reverence God in whom you believe. So God's law is just, and we're to follow equitable compensation. In this case, the enemy, must be forced. So I guess it's saying that that it they the enemy is probably going to be unjust, hence the needing to force, using this word, because they're probably not going to want to willfully compensate, the men who lost their wives. So we're told, we're to force, in the times of war, we're to force them. O you prophet, when believing women who abandon the disbelievers to seek asylum with you, pledge to you that they will not set up any idols besides God, nor steal, nor commit adultery, nor kill their children, nor fabricate any falsehood, nor disobey your righteous orders. You shall accept their pledge and pray to God to forgive them. God is forgiver, most merciful. So this is I like this, because this is just a good example that God redeems, redeems even the ones um, who were on the opposing side. He can choose to forgive us and guide even the ones who were once part of the side or the team that was fighting God's people. So and the prophet was instructed to accept their pledge and even ask for forgiveness, which is real nice, because praying for forgiveness is an act of worship, for the believers. Praying for other believers forgiveness is it's always a good thing. Verse 13: O you who believe, do not befriend people with whom God is angry and are hopelessly stuck in disbelief. They are just as hopeless as the disbelievers who are already in the graves. So this is really a good verse to think about. That I think about, because I look at the example it uses. So we're told earlier that God commands us and warns us of befriending God's enemies. So people whom God is angry with, I can personally in my life, I can think of people I have. Sometimes it takes time, but I can think of a few people that I no longer associate with. Just as I grow in understanding, even if they were a family member, or they could become a hypocrite. You start to see very clear signs, and you realize that you do not want to befriend or even associate with people with whom God is angry. You run for your life from these people. And God gives us a good example. He tells us how hopeless these people are, and he cites the example of the people, the disbelievers in the grave. He says they are just as hopeless as the disbelievers who are already in the graves. So because people and a disbeliever in the grave is done for. Like there is no hope. So it's a little tricky sometimes to see because we take somebody who's alive, active on this earth, and you could think, oh, well, there might be, but God can show us, I mean, these people even reveal themselves that how hopeless they are, and God says these people, it's just, so it's no difference as as the ones who are dead, buried beneath the ground, disbelievers, so and this also makes us think, you wouldn't befriend, if you had a spouse or your best friend who was angry, righteously so, at a random, let's say, stranger. You wouldn't walk up to this stranger and befriend him or be nice to him. You would, if anything, you'd treat him in a not aggressive manner, but you would definitely side with your friend or your spouse, and have nothing to do with this person. So we should do the same for God, and this is it tells the believers, because this is something that even myself, it's for our own good, because we wouldn't want to, we wouldn't befriend an enemy of our spouse or our best friend. So why should we do it for God? Because and we can't make justification or rationalization for ourselves either. And I'm speaking from a personal experience that thank God, he helped me through carrying out his order. But you know, you're always supposed to give, benefit. It's a good thing to have hope for people, but at the same time, we can't be misled by wishful thinking, and continue to tell ourselves, when the signs have been clear that this person is hopelessly stuck, and that's something probably a couple months ago I recently did, and I noticed like better things started happening to me, and God will, it's for our own good. You'll live a better life, you'll be happier, and you'll realize you'll wish like, oh man, I could have, thank God that He opened my eyes as to who this person was, and we didn't turn a blind eye or be misled by wishful thinking that this person, you know. Um, so we have one more verse. It's next Surah 61, the column. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Verse 1, glorifying God is everything in the heavens and the earth, and everything on earth. He is the Almighty, most wise. So, there's nothing that does not glorify God. We're told throughout the Quran in many places, everything glorifies God because He has created all things. Even the seven universes glorify Him. That's in Surah 17. And even the disbelievers glorify God. They're beating heart. They're every they're not even in control of their own heartbeat. The breath they take, they fail to take heed or ask themselves, or see the proofs that they didn't create their own heart. They didn't form their skin, or they're not the ones that are growing their hair, or growing their nails. That just happens automatically, by God's leave. It's a system, so everything glorifies God, because it's a proof, it's a testament, its very existence, just existing itself is testifies to God's greatness, because they're brought into existence. It's created every single atom, and that even smaller. So I'll conclude the study. I'll stop right here. If there's any comments and questions, please feel free. Thank you.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, brother.
So I have a question. May I ask? So regarding the verses of the Quran about friendship with um, n- non-believers, or I don't know, transgressors, Quran called them. I understand, for example, it depends. It could be for business, or it could be for work kind of things. But I have like a personal question. In my case, I'm a climber and a coach. So I have like some friends in this area, and I want to know, for example, if I go sometimes outdoor to do climbing with them, and not to like have fun or doing normal things that they are doing. Is this right to do for me as like a, I don't know, submitter in submitter perspective? Is it okay that I'm doing this with them?
Mashallah. Yeah, I would say the way I look at it, if these people, it's we're not forbidden, from doing extracurricular activities. If these people aren't fighting you because of religion, if they work with you. Now, I mean, I've thought about this too, in a sense that there could be, there's categories of people that don't fight you. They may just be agnostics or atheists, or just a disbeliever, but they're courteous. But at the same time, let's say they have a nasty mouth. They use vulgarity. I mean, I guess the type of work I'm doing right now. You know, I'm around these some of these people, and it offends me, and it really aggravates me too. So, and in that sense, I'm not gonna go do, or I'm gonna just work, at a minimum, be around these people as little as possible, as to not expose myself, to anything. Um, but I mean, if they're, I guess if they're, they're kind people. They don't use, they don't make just, vain, a lot of vain talk, or just, it says God doesn't like the utterance of bad speech, and so I've thought about this, even for myself. And so, I guess in that case, I would choose to, if they fall into that category of people, I choose not to be around them. But I mean, like, and maybe in your case, these people could be more professional and be more grown up and matured, and not feel the need to act like, use whatever type of bad language for no reason. I believe it would be fine, and maybe even it's an opportunity to spread God's message, perhaps.
Yes, mashallah. Actually, they're really like, how can I like explain it? They do not say anything about like wrong about God, and even sometimes I speak with them about the submission, about how is Quran, and they do not like. They're open to hear that, and uh, as you said, they're mature, and we are doing just like climbing with them, and sometimes also they help me to like give me a ride to like from home to my workplace, or this kind of things. And as you said, I think till now they didn't say anything wrong about God, or being type of people that do not want to accept about God. So yeah, thank you so much, mashallah. Yes, mashallah. So uh, it was like a little bit confusing as well, because we have another verse that it says like you have to run for your own neck. So in that manner, finding a way, like a balance between these two, to be like spreading the message, telling the message to the people around you that you call them friend, and also like finding this way, it's kind of hard for me, I think, because I'm in the beginning of the submission. But inshallah, by the time God will help me uh, to like do the best in this way. Thank you so much, mashallah, brother. Yes, mashallah.
One second. Okay, this is fixed now, I believe. Hopefully. Yes, no. Anyways, yeah, I think now it's fixed. So, yeah. So what was I? I kind of lost my trail of thought. What was the last point you just mentioned, brother?
So I think after I finished my speak, we didn't hear you anything from you. So we
Okay.
didn't hear anything from you. So
Okay.
I was
Okay.
telling that.
Okay, mashallah. No, I got what I was gonna say. I remember now. So yeah, so
Okay,
basically,
sorry.
I was gonna say
Yeah, go
that
on.
this verse that talks about people running for their life, right? So this is talking about people who have decided to oppose God and His messenger. Right now, these people that you have mentioned, these people have not made a decision to oppose God and His messenger. I mean, they may be living lifestyle that is totally different from what God and His messenger says, right? But they're not people that, for example, you presented the Quran and they made fun of you or mocked it or decided to oppose it. They may have looked at it and they may not have made a decision or not looked at it at all, right? So these are the people that may have a chance in the future to look at the message and they might become believers, right? But for example, if one of these people had had a chance to look at the Quran, look at the message, and you presented to them the miracle and everything, and then they decided to oppose you and fight you or make fun of you at that point, or decided to campaign against you, even worse, at that point, then obviously, you probably wouldn't befriend them, right? But you have to look at the situation for anybody, and I'm not just talking about these people now. I'm just saying in general, right? There might be people that you may be have given the message to, but they may not have immediately accepted, and they're probably in the process of evaluating it, right? But they haven't made a decision, or they may have decided to even reject it in the beginning. But you may still have hope for them because maybe they haven't really given it they haven't really had a chance to examine it fully, right? For example, I'll give you an example of, like, say, like, my parents. So in their case, like, I gave to them the message, but every time I wanted to talk about the message, really, like, we just never really got to it, all of it. They were respectful and kind, but we never really had a chance to have a very detailed discussion where I presented to them all the evidence, you know. So I continue to treat them in that category where they may accept the message at some point. They were not fighting me, they were not opposing me in any way, and they were respectful, until they passed away. But we never got a chance, right? So, but there might be other parents, for example, who may see the message and they say, no, I will not accept this message. And if you talk to me about this, like Abraham's father, like, I will not talk to you or something. Now, in that case, like what Abraham did was he, at one point, he realized that, what, there's no hope for my father. He's not going to accept it. So he disowned him at that point, even though it's his father. And that's why God says a good example, because, this is not an easy thing for someone, especially if it's a parent or a spouse or a child. This would be a very difficult thing. It's a traumatizing thing. It's like it's a part of your body. Like it's hard to sever it from yourself. And so it's a test. That's why the surah that we read today, Al-Mumtahana, it's a test for us, because you're faced with a choice. You have love, you have emotions, you have family ties, you have social pressure, so many things. And then, you have to choose God over everything else, right? But God says that it is a mandatory test for all of us, so all the believers will eventually have to go through this. So Abraham set the best example, a good example, I should say, that his own father was like this, and he decided to disown him. But obviously this doesn't apply to people around us, like coworkers and stuff, who may just be just around us, and they may not even be aware of the full dynamics of the message, or they may not be opposing you in any way or ridiculing you and things like that. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry, I had to kind of repeat a little bit, because I know people online were not listening, were not able to hear my answers. So.
Yes, mashallah, brother. I totally understand right now. It was like, maybe because of my lack of knowledge, I mixed up two things together, which have like really different ways to do things. So right now I understand. Thank you so much for your
welcome. No problem.
answer.
No problem. Mashallah.
Mashallah, brother. Yeah, it's very, very well said. I have I guess, somewhat of a question. So, if you have somebody that, let's say you've taken a stance on disassociating, disowning them, even if they were your own family, it says you won't find people befriending those in the last day who oppose God and His messenger. But I'm wondering, because I guess in a way, this person wasn't physically fighting or opposing, but I guess the way I looked at it, they've known about the mess, or they don't even believe. They've known about the messenger, but I know for a fact that despite what they say, they don't believe he was like a commissioned messenger of God.
Mm-hmm.
They know about the miracle, but you come to this person with many, over the course of months, even, over several months, you send them information about, you send them proofs, from the Quran about 19, about, the age of 40 or predestination as far as God is concerned. And they argue with you, they But at the same time, it's like you talk to these people outside and they appear. And I mean, this, it took me a while, but I think I kind of consulted you on this matter. But this person is an extreme hypocrite, and it was extremely scary. Like after making the decision to cut this person off, the evidence even became more, because I would recall things, I would look back at old messages, and it's almost like after I made the decision to run for my life, like God was even showing me more proofs, and it really gave me chills, but this person didn't like physical, I guess in a sense, would you would you call them, they're still an opposer, right? Because of
Yeah.
they say they believe, but I know this person does not believe in the hereafter. Like, despite him, like reading the Quran, he'd always try to find translations, like where Rashad's translation is authorized. We know that, but he would go to this website and pull up like a translation from Deep or something else, just because it's like the verse I would send this person. It would almost like he thought he could fool. I guess I don't want to speak too much on this, but
Yeah.
this person was extremely close to me. I loved him, and but the evidence just became so
Overwhelming.
piled up against him. But would you still call him an opposer even if he didn't like physically fight me
Yeah, I mean, it's
or
not about physically fighting or even fighting. It's really all it is about is the person's no longer neutral. The person has decided to reject it, has decided to make a stand against it, a firm stand where you know that they're not going to change it, right? And that's obviously you come to that realization at some point. I mean, you have to make that judgment call about the person where you feel there's any hope left that this person may change their mind or not. Are they really hell-bent, right? Like in Abraham's case, he knew for a fact that his father's not gonna change his mind at this point. He has had enough time and enough evidence to look at, and and still he decided to not accept it, and he decided to oppose it. And he was averse to it, so much so that he said that I will even stone you, right? So I mean, the deciding criteria is not like if they decide to stone you or decide to like pick something to throw at you or something like that, but it's just the how much you can tell by their disbelief, how resolute they are, how stubborn they are about not wanting to accept it. Like the person's going out of their way, like you said, going to other websites, trying to find faults to say that they don't believe in it, and trying to also make you disbelieve in it by such statements. Trying to put doubt in your heart as well. Trying to backtrack you at the same time.
right,
So
right. I
so
noticed that.
yeah. So you basically can tell by their demeanor, like if they have any chance to accept it at this point. If you see the person's hell bent on rejecting it, you know, and oppose. That's opposition, basically, right? They're no longer neutral about it. They are in opposition because he was in opposition to the teachings, to the translation, to the practices, you know. So that is when you decided that this person was not going to accept the message at this point.
Right, mashallah. Yeah, I misspoke. I didn't mean, I guess I got caught up with the word physical fight. I meant when fighting, kind of like you said, like verbally or arguing. But yeah, they're definitely opposing, everything about the messenger himself and God's revelations. Mashallah.
Yeah, I mean, for the believers, this becomes a mandatory test, as the verse says. So, we all at one point or another, will have to go through that process with someone close to us.
Yeah, I didn't. I think you had showed me at one point that there's in Surah 9. I believe there's in the footnotes about one of the verses that was similar to the one in Surah 58 you just
Mm-hmm.
showed.
Mm-hmm.
It said it's very rare to find,
Mm-hmm.
I guess a whole group or family of believers, or
Mm-hmm.
even just have multiple like sincere submitters, in one family. So the odds are overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly. I mean, this is a mandatory test, as the messenger put it in Surah 29, Surah 9, verse 24. It says, since the odds are overwhelming against any human being to actually believe and devote the worship to God alone, it is virtually impossible to see the whole family believe. Thus, most believers have been faced with the choice, either me or God and His messenger. This choice is consistently stated by the spouses of the believers or their parents, their children, etc. Consistently, they believe the believers made the right choice. This is a mandatory test for all believers, right? So, I mean, Rashad himself had the same test with his own father, for example, right? And so, I mean, this is a test, like it says, we all have to go through it at some point. People who may be very close to us, we will be tested with. And eventually, we, for saving our own soul, I mean, we have no other choice but, to, like, quote unquote, run for our life and to part company with them at that point. But that doesn't even that's not even something that requires like it's not a necessary thing, like, for example, to, like, some people say, no, you have to give time, in terms of, like, if it's like, you may spend like 1 or 2 years trying to convince someone, for example, and you say, no, well, you have to give more time or something. It's not really about time so much. It's about the guidance, a person's heart. And that's why, like, there's no set recommendation or how much time you give to someone, or how many times you show them the truth, or in what to what extent. But you are going to be the judge at that point with the situation. It's kind of very, very open. But you have, when you understand that this person is no longer going to accept, that's your call at that point. Because there could be several factors that could influence a person's decision and their surroundings. So,
MashaAllah. I have another question. So, in that case, if the parents like decide to not accept the submission, or in that case, how we should, like, we have to be nice to them. We have to, like, because if I remember, there is a verse in Quran that it said we have to be nice to our parents. In that case, how it's supposed to be? Could you please explain me that?
yeah. So, subhanallah, like, we read now about Abraham, right? So Abraham disowned his own father, right? So even though you have to be nice to your parents, even Rashad disowned his father. And so how does it work? I mean, obviously, let's say you have your parents and you give them the message, and they you are still in the process of talking to them, and they may stay, like, son, please, like, worship so and so, and these are your gods, whatever. You just disregard it. You don't listen to them, but you continue to treat them nicely, right? God says you have to honor them. Like, one scenario could be your parents are believers, right? So you have to honor them. Second scenario could be your parents are not believers, but you're giving them the message. You're sharing with them the truth. They're evaluating it. They haven't really made up their mind. You're kind of in the process of telling them more about it, and giving them more details, and the discussion's ongoing. At that point, you still continue to treat them nicely, but don't obey them. But then you have a situation like Abraham, for example, where it comes to a point where your parents are not even cannot even stand to hear about the message. The moment you bring up submission, they get upset and angry. And they're in opposition, right? So that shows their extent of their opposition. So at that point, then it's no longer, like, for example, your parents, you gave the message to your parents, right? And you showed them the miracle. You talked to them about the message several times. You've had many discussions. And at that point, some point your parents decide, you know what, Omid, like, if you ever talk about religion again, like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, Like, if you're going to talk to me about religion, don't talk to me at all, or something like that, right? So it becomes a point, it becomes impossible for them for you to even have that discussion. They, like, there's no hope at that point. They have no hope left, right? I mean, if they don't even want to talk about it, they're not even open-minded to listen to you talk about God and the message, the right message about worshiping God alone. Then at that point, you may decide that, okay, it doesn't sound like this person is going to accept anymore, right? So at that point, you have to run for your life, right? Because at that point, you have to decide, okay, well, God says, I have to choose my friends carefully. At this point, if they're opposing God and his messenger, then I have to run for my life. But until they come to that point, until things come to that point, you're supposed to treat them very nicely. You're supposed to give them your charity. You're supposed to honor them, do everything. But if they decide to be in opposition, then you're supposed to disown them.
MashaAllah, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome. I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude our study. That sound good?
Yes, mashallah.
Right, so thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Brother John, for leading the study. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And God bless you all. Assalamu Alaykum.
Salãmun Alaykum.
Salāmun Alaykum. God bless you.